And welcome to the show. You just heard from the president. Right now, though, we have a rare first-hand account from the center of maybe the greatest scandal in modern political history, the FBI spying on the 2016 Trump campaign. For nearly 2 years, Obama administration officials and their dutiful lackeys in the press hysterically denied any of that even happened. Now we know that it did happen. The Obama administration used government agencies to surveil a rival campaign. There's no denying that now. So instead, the usual apologists are claiming it was a good thing, in fact. They were spying on Trump to protect him. And by the way, you have no right to know anything about it. Even asking a question is a sign of disloyalty. Shut up and obey. No thanks. Tonight, we have a direct account of what happened, the first full interview with a Trump campaign official who apparently was targeted by an FBI spy. Sam Clovis was a former national co-chairman of the Trump campaign. In September of 2016, he says he had a face-to-face meeting with a man who was believed to be one of the FBI spies on that campaign. Sam Clovis joins us tonight. Sam, thanks for coming on. So,
thanks, Tucker. Thanks for having me on.
You believe you had a face-to-face encounter with a man paid by Obama's FBI to spy on your campaign. Describe that meeting, if you would.
Several days before the September 1st meeting, I had the opportunity to receive emails from Stephen Halper. Dr. Halper had sent emails using the imprimatur of him knowing Carter Page and asked for a sit-down with me. He just wanted to come in and discuss foreign policy and to provide what he thought might be some of his writings that would be able to contribute and help us in the campaign. I arranged that meeting. We had that meeting in Washington, D.C. on the 1st of September. It lasted about an hour. Had the opportunity to discuss over coffee with him his research, and it mostly was focused on China. And then I think after that meeting, and on the 27th of September, I received an email from him with several attachments. And I can be honest with you, Tucker, I haven't even opened those attachments to this day. I have no idea what was in them, but they were mostly titled papers that dealt with China. I think he used my meeting using my meeting as a bona fides with George Papadopoulos to have a meeting with him that I did not know about that was subsequent to my meeting with him on the 1st of September.
So you didn't know him before? He emailed you cold?
No, I did not.
No. When did you begin I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I just got the email from Stephen that asked for the meeting, and he used the fact that he knew Carter Page, and of course right. Carter had been associated with our campaign.
At what point did you begin to suspect he was working for the FBI, seeking to gather information surreptitiously on the campaign?
Well, our meeting was like 2 faculty members in the faculty lounge, so I didn't think anything of it until I saw the reporting that started to come out only recently. And then I started to put 2 and 2 together, and then it started to make sense to me that perhaps he was probing to find a weak spot in our campaign, someone who might be vulnerable to connecting things back to those elusive 30,000 emails that supposedly the Russians had. And I really think that was what his task was to create an audit trail back to those emails from someone in the campaign or someone associated with the campaign so that they could develop a stronger case for probable cause to continue to issue warrants and to further an investigation. Because I really felt after hearing all of these other things and listening to the reports that I've read that this truly was an effort to build something that did not exist. And I really think that was what his mission was.
Why haven't you read the attachments to his emails?
Well, one, I was busy. I worked 16 to 20 hours a day. We already had a lot of help on foreign policy in the areas of China. I really didn't think that they were going to contribute anything. And frankly, I've gone back and reviewed all my emails. I didn't report that meeting to anyone in the campaign, so the meeting was of no consequence to me as far as anything I could remember. And I've looked through all of my personal emails and everything, and I can't find a record of it at all.
Interesting. But that meeting may have played a key role in a much larger story. Sam, thank you for that account. Appreciate it.
Well, it's great. Thanks for having me on tonight, Tucker. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, the message of recent news coverage is pretty simple. You need to trust the FBI, the DOJ, the intelligence community. Demanding any congressional oversight of at any kind is evidence of treason. John Kirikow was a longtime CIA counterterrorism officer in the Middle East, Pakistan, all over the world. He was imprisoned for a couple of years by the Obama administration for leaking information. During the course of that, his life intersected with Robert Mueller and John Brennan, among others. He joins us tonight. John, thanks a lot for coming on.
Thanks so much for having me.
So a lot has been written about your case. You wrote a book about your time in prison. Not much has been written about your intersection with two men in the news now, and you did intimately. Brennan, with whom you worked for many years,
yes.
And Robert Mueller.
Yes.
Tell us what you learned.
Well, Robert Mueller, I had a more recent encounter with, and that was when he created the John Kiriakou task force at the Justice Department. He was the head of the FBI at the time. I had no idea that I was under investigation. When I went public on the CIA's torture program in late 2007, the Bush administration investigated me and determined that I hadn't committed a crime. They closed the case. Just a few weeks later, when Barack Obama became president, John Brennan became the #2 at the National Security Council, and he asked the Justice Department, Eric Holder, to secretly reopen the case against me. That went to Robert Mueller. He created this John Kiriakou task force and investigated for 3 more years.
You're telling me that John Brennan, who has a documented history of leaking to the press, asked for a criminal investigation into you, which resulted in you going to prison with 5 kids because you leaked?
Exactly. And you know, when I said that to my attorneys, the only response they could come up with was, "That's Washington." The injustice is incredible, and this is why I'm so happy to have this opportunity to speak with you tonight, because I know Robert Mueller, and I know John Brennan, and this is what they do. They set out to ruin people. You know, we look at these indictments in this so-called Russiagate that has nothing whatsoever to do with Russia, by the way, and none of these indictments have anything to do with anything. They're what are called throwaway indictments. So what you have is a man, Robert Mueller, who chooses a person and then looks for a crime to hang on the person, rather than discovering a crime and then investigating to see who committed the crime.
I just can't get past the fact that John Brennan, again, with whom you worked for years, who we know leaked to the press classified information, yes, agitated for you to go to prison because he said you leaked.
In fact, it was even worse than that. Once I was arrested and we received discovery from the Justice Department, we received several memos between John Brennan and the Justice Department. The first memo said, charge him with espionage. And then the Justice Department wrote back and said, but he hasn't committed espionage. And then Brennan wrote back, charge him anyway and make him defend himself. And that's what they did. And what they do, this is what Robert Mueller did, he waited until I went bankrupt 10 months later, and then drop the charges. Again, that's what they do. It's a way of exerting pressure that you just simply can't resist. They have unlimited resources, and you don't.
We don't have time to get into the details of your case. It's easily available online. I followed it because I'm a journalist. I would just say 2 things. I wish more journalists had supported you. I think you were shafted.
Thank you.
And I hope you get pardoned because you deserve it.
Thank you. You know, this president, more than any other president, I think, sees injustice. And this president is unique in a very important way. Most presidents, when they give pardons, they do it in what's really called a lame duck period after an election. This president pardons people when he sees an injustice. And there was another president that did that. That was Abraham Lincoln. He pardoned people through his entire administration. And I'm confident that if I can get in front of President Trump, he'll see that this is an injustice and he'll right it.
Well, it is an injustice. And the fact that Brennan was behind it is shocking. John, thank you. And
thank
good
you
luck.
so much for the time.
Appreciate it. Democrats obviously planning to impeach President Trump next year if they win the House. That's real. Their leaders won't admit it. That's odd. That story next.